like everywhere I turn lately, bam, there's another Britam ad. Billboards, radio, even those little flyers stuck under my windshield wiper.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they're definitely not shy about getting their name out there.
So that's what we're digging into for this deep dive. Trying to figure out what's behind Britam's big marketing push.
Exactly. We've got their website, some recent press releases, even a competitor analysis. Got to see what Britam's really up to beyond the billboards.
All right, so let's start with their website. I was clicking through earlier, and I gotta say, this isn't your typical insurance company site.
Oh, how so? What'd they have?
It's like they're trying to be everything to everyone. I mean, they've got the usual car and home insurance, sure, but then there's life insurance, pensions, investment funds, even something called a school bus enhanced policy.
School bus. Wow. Okay, so they're branching out.
Yeah, big time. And that's not even all of it. They've got agricultural insurance, property development, even something about microfinance solutions.
See, that's interesting. It seems like they're really trying to position themselves as this one-stop shop for all things finance, not just insurance. Capture a customer for one thing, and they're hoping he'll stick around for everything else.
Right, like a whole financial ecosystem. Makes you wonder, though, can they be good at everything? Like, do they have the expertise to handle such a diverse portfolio? I mean, how do you become a specialist in both crop insurance and investment banking?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's a common challenge for companies in a growth phase, trying to find that balance between expanding their reach and maintaining their core competencies.
And how does this strategy play out in the real world? I mean, are they actually innovating and making waves in all these different sectors? We've got the stack of press releases, so maybe we can find some answers there.
Let's see what they're bragging about, shall we?
Okay, I'm skimming through these press releases, and I see a lot of buzzwords: innovation, strategic partnerships, financial inclusion. It's almost like a corporate bingo card.
Well, they're definitely trying to paint a picture of a dynamic and forward-thinking company. But let's look beyond the buzzwords and see what substance we can find. One thing that jumps out at me is their emphasis on SME solutions.
SME solutions, right. Remind me again, what does SME stand for?
SMEs are small and medium enterprises, basically, your
Yeah.
local businesses, startups, that kind of thing. The backbone of the economy, as they like to say.
So Britam's targeting smaller businesses. Makes sense, right? Cast a wider net, reach a different customer base.
In theory, yes. But it's not without its risks. SMEs can be more vulnerable to economic downturns. They might have less established credit histories, and their insurance needs can be very specific.
So it's riskier for Britam, too.
Exactly. If Britam's underwriting practices and risk assessment models aren't sophisticated enough to handle the unique challenges of SMEs, it could come back to bite them. And that makes me think about another thing I noticed.
What's that?
This recurring emphasis on financial stability in their materials. It's mentioned multiple times in different contexts, almost like they're trying a little too hard to reassure everyone.
You're right. It's a bit like they're protesting too much. Like, why bring it up constantly unless there's been a reason to doubt their stability in the past?
Exactly. Now, we don't have access to their full financial records in this deep dive, so we can't jump to conclusions, but it's something to keep in mind as we evaluate their overall strategy.
Okay, so we've got the SME focus, the financial stability assurances. What else? Oh, this competitor comparison chart you provided is really interesting. Where does Britam fit in amongst the big players in the Kenyan market?
Well, the fact that they're included in this chart at all tells you they're a significant player. They're consistently ranked alongside established names like Jubilee and UAP Old Mutual.
So name recognition is there, but does that automatically make them equal in terms of, say, customer satisfaction or the quality of their products?
Not necessarily. Size isn't everything, and this is where things get really interesting. When you dig deeper into this competitor analysis, you start to see some areas where Britam is lagging behind.
Ooh, fill me in. What are we talking about here?
Take microinsurance, for example. We were just talking about how Britam is targeting SMEs, but they seem to be trailing behind companies like CIC Insurance Group when it comes to offering those smaller scale, more accessible insurance products that are so crucial for low-income communities.
So they're all about SMEs, but not necessarily reaching the even smaller players in the market.
Precisely. It's a bit of a disconnect. And then there's Islamic finance, which is a growing market segment in Kenya.
Right.
We're not seeing much evidence that Britam is tapping into that market, whereas some competitors have dedicated takaful offerings that comply with Islamic principles.
So that begs the question, is this intentional on Britam's part, or are they missing out on potential opportunities? A strategic choice versus a blind spot?
It's hard to say for sure without more information. But those are the kinds of questions we need to keep asking as we try to decode what Britam is really doing. They're clearly an ambitious company trying to be all things to all
Well,
people.
I feel like there's always a but.
But there's a risk that their reach might exceed their grasp. And that's the big takeaway for our listeners.
So let's bring this all home for our listeners, right? Say I walk into a Britam branch tomorrow, all my paperwork in hand. What should I, as a potential customer, be watching for, given everything we've uncovered here?
It really boils down to focus. Britam's focus and your focus as that customer. They've got this huge range of products and services, which is great if you need, car insurance and a mortgage and maybe some microloan all at the same time. But the key question is, are they really the experts in whatever specific thing you need most at that moment?
It's a bit like those restaurants, right? The ones with these massive menus, pages and pages long. Just makes you wonder, can they possibly do anything on that menu really well?
100%, yeah. That's a great analogy. So as a customer, pay attention to how Britam interacts with you. Are they taking the time to understand your individual needs, your financial goals? Or does it feel like they're just trying to push you towards the biggest package deal, regardless of whether it's the best fit for you?
Right, like that classic cross-selling tactic. You walk in for car insurance, and suddenly you're also signing up for a retirement plan and a college fund for your newborn.
Exactly. And again, there's nothing inherently wrong with offering a range of services. But in Britam's case, they're clearly betting big on this idea of being the one-stop shop, this all-encompassing financial partner for life. To truly succeed, they can't let that ambition overshadow the needs of the individual customer.
Because if they start dropping the ball on individual service, if the quality isn't there, then that whole Britam for everything strategy, it could backfire pretty spectacularly, couldn't it?
Absolutely. It's a tightrope they're walking, no doubt. They've got the size, they've got the name recognition, and they're clearly not afraid of a little ambition. But the big question is, will their reach exceed their grasp? And that, my friend, is something we'll all have to watch very closely. So to our listeners, keep your eyes on Britam. And remember, in the world of finance, a healthy dose of skepticism is always a good look.
Words to live by. Thanks for diving deep with us today. This was eye-opening, even for someone like me who thought they had Britam's number just from seeing all those billboards around town. And to our listeners, stay tuned for our next deep dive where we'll be dissecting. Well, you'll have to wait and see. Until then, keep asking those tough questions.